Hey, diary. Yeah, so every night is kind of difficult, and mornings are particularly terrible because I wake up remembering that Forrest killed himself, and there's no relief from that. There's no silver lining, or at least he's not suffering, or it couldn't be helped. And just the reality that we didn't make it. And that is a profound failure for me. But I'm also very curious as to what is in it for you. What was in it for Forrest? What was he thinking as he was talking himself back into using? Because that's what we do. We talk to ourselves. And we tell ourselves, "Oh, it'll be fun," or "Nobody cares, so I'm going to do it anyway," or I don't know. I have my own history with drugs, but they've been more recreational, and certainly not, you know, I guess in my mind, I think everybody knows to avoid stuff like crack, yeah, meth, cigarettes, alcohol, and heroin. I had a couple beers last night, but I also feel them today. I'm more talking about like the addictive the equivocations that we make, the lies we tell ourselves to tell ourselves that smoking is okay, or we need it, or shut up, or my father did it, or you know, it's normal, or it's legal. It's such bullshit. If you're addicted to cigarettes, you're this far from addicting to something else. If you're an alcoholic, you're already as bad as any junkie. You're already there. And I had 2 years where I drank every day. I was depressed. I was upset about some things in my life, and talking to myself. I was talking to myself, telling myself that this was somehow pain management, emotional management, that I earned it, that I deserved it, that it's legal. I got out of shape. I I got sick. It really ruined like the person, the strong person, the good person. It ruins that person, the best person that you can be, even just the basic person that you can be. Being a drunk, addicted to cigarettes, those are the real gateway drugs. I know marijuana is very powerful, and I have had my love affair with it, I suppose, for years. I had years of not smoking. I stopped smoking, and once I discovered vaping, and I just want to be honest about that. I I don't feel any negative effects in the sense that I'm still able to function at a very high level. But I'm still aware of my drug addict proclivities. And Forrest and I would share cannabis together, and not a lot, just a little bit. We did that in beautiful settings. It was nice. So I have a little bit of guilt, or it's just mixed together. Like, is pot equivalent to heroin or cigarettes or tobacco, to alcohol? I've known some potheads that could not get their lives together probably because of some other reasons, but marijuana was in the way. And I knew that. But today I feel the effects of having a couple of beers, just glasses of beer. I feel the effects. If I did that every day, I would start to live that. You start to become that. And one thing is the enjoyment of a glass of something. The other thing is needing to drink until you're, you know, shit-faced, as they say. Or even just stupid. And again, I take it to the analogy, or not analogy, but can I think? Can I perform? Can I play my guitar? Can I? Is it enjoyable? Some of the jazz interviews that I've been listening to about heroin users. As one guy said that when you're high on heroin, and a lot of these jazz musicians were high even as they were performing, the space opens up and blah, blah, blah. It's too high a cost, I think. And a lot of those people died or lived degraded lives, are just full of shit. They could play well, but they were just full of shit. Literally. What would you rather see? Somebody meditating in a room, or shooting up? It's pretty obvious that that is so anti-life in every way. So I'm trying to get inside Forrest and think his thoughts. Equivocate like he did. Lie to himself. To talk himself into it. Because there must be some gain. There must have been something that he was getting from it that was worth more, outvalued the risks. So what is that? When you're laying on your bed, or wherever you are, and you just shot up, what are you feeling? What are you feeling right then that you don't ever feel otherwise? because that's what took him there. Some level of attraction to that state was worth more than everything else. And that means his mother, his sister, his father, his friends, his mind, his education, his training. He worked so hard. And yet he was willing to say, this is worth it. And I'm starting to now reflect back and think like he may have been dipping into this. Certainly I know for a few months before he died, but it could have been longer. And he didn't want anyone to know because he didn't want anyone to stop him. He didn't suffer yet the results of it. He was probably starting to. But he was sort of riding on his health, which is what probably a lot of people do. They feel good for a minute while they're doing it. So, junkies, what's in it for you? Why do you do it? You know, it's one thing like when you're physically addicted, I'm going to get sick tomorrow and all that stuff, but what about when you're clean and you go back to it? I always want to return to training, not because training is easy, it's because it feels good after. It feels good during, but it feels particularly good after. And the effects of it in my life are demonstrable. I can see what I can do. I feel the clarity that brings me. You know, it's the same thing, like I said, if I drink for a few days in a row, I feel what that does. It's not a mystery. I took oxycodone or something like that for a tooth surgery that I had. I was wasted for 2 days from that. I didn't need anybody to... Yeah, my pain was gone. But I didn't need anybody to tell me, like, hey, this is stupid. It's not painkiller. It's an addictive poison that kills pain. But I'm not going to blame the pharmaceutical companies. I'm not going to blame Afghanistan, poppy fields, U.S. government. Blame yourself. Only you can commit suicide. Only you can see the truth of things. But I can only think that the experience of shooting up, particularly shooting up and getting high like he did, has got to have some intrinsic value that outweighs all the pain and suffering that my son has caused. And the senseless, and I say meaningless, loss of his life. And I don't see him as unique. I, I see his behavior as similar to the other junkies I've known. And I say junkie because you went, you bought the junk, you repeatedly bought the junk. You had your rig, your all that stuff, your group of friends that supported that. It's the same. It's the same for everybody. Nobody threw heroin on my son's lap, put a gun to his head, and said, "Shoot this." He did it, just like you're doing it. And you know it's wrong because it's poisoning your natural body, your natural self, which is a beautiful thing, which is it's hard, especially if your family is screwed up, your life is shitty, but you can walk out of that and create incredible stability for yourself. You don't have to live in the shadow of other people's mistakes.